Good morning, Professor Wheeler. This is Jerome, and I'm going to show you this past week's assignment. So we're starting off in the documentation window, which is pretty ordinary. But then I'll take you to the purchase order window where we have to do a lot of stuff. The first thing that I did was to basically connect the purchase order table or sheet, I guess, to the product list table with all the product IDs, which are over here. And I was able to do that using a VLOOKUP formula nested in an if-error formula, so that basically when you enter the product ID, all the different types of data from that product ID would show up. The type here, the model, and the price. The if error also allows me to see that there's an error. If I put in a wrong product ID, I can return an error message that is easy to read. And then I also added the shipping cost part of it. For that was, as you can see here, done with a nested if statements. The data for the if statements are here, and you'll notice that what wasn't included in the assignment was this line here that I put down. It's called pull down, and it's got 0, so that when at the start of the form you got pulled down here, it shows 0. I also did another thing that's not specified in the assignment, which is to do some data validation, which is here. I know how to do this from work, so I used a data validation scheme here. So here you actually have a pull down, and you can pull down whatever option you want in shipping. So if you press Express, the shipping cost basically gets transferred from our little table beneath. I thought that was nifty. I'm very proud of myself. And then finally, the total cost is basically an if-error statement with a nested formula that just basically adds the price, multiplies it by the quantity, and adds the shipping cost. If there's an error and you put in the wrong product ID, the error shows up as check product ID quantity or shipping option. So I think this kind of satisfied the assignment. However, I recognize that I would have to work on it more, because frankly, if I put as quantity of 0 here, let me just show you there. Okay, basically the quantity does not affect anything here, basically, and so if I want to make this perfect, I'd have to work on it a little more, but for the most part, I think it works for the purposes of the assignment. Okay, so then we'll move on to the product list tab, and here we did some conditional formatting. The first conditional format was to show an error if there were duplications, or just to highlight a duplication of records. So I'll show you quickly how that works. So if I put in the same ID here, you get 2 highlighted cells that show you that there's a problem. The second conditional formatting was to show individual prices that were above $300 and to highlight them in green. So that's what we have here. All the prices above $300, are highlighted in green, which is very nice. And finally, we come to the summary tab, which I have to admit was the one that gave me the most trouble. I think part of it was because I'm working in a MacBook environment, so it's the Excel for Mac, and I could not see the, for instance, here you see the product price type and all that. I could not see the name of the tables, and I think that made it a little more challenging. So I spent a lot of time trying to enter the average if formula by hand and kept getting error messages. Finally, what I did was using the formula maker, which looks very different in Mac than it does in Windows. I used basically, I just selected ranges in the product list. So I would just click and drag down the whole column, like the type and the price. I also selected, a specific item or item type, and finally it worked for me. So that worked. The count if formula that I used here also, kind of had the similar problem. So I used the same solution, but finally I did arrive at a solution. I hope these numbers are right. To be honest with you, I didn't double check them because of time, but they seem right to me. Normally, if this were a live business environment, I would double check them. And that's it. That's it for the assignment for this week. Have a good week. Thank you.